Hello, and thank you all so much for tuning into this showcase of wonderful artists. All the artists in this showcase were selected to be part of the mentorship programme run by myself and the Scottish BAME Writers Network. My name is Courtney Stoddart and I'm a Scottish Caribbean poet and performer. My work mostly tackles racism, imperialism and the corporate state. And I very much write with the intention of facilitating changes in consciousness. So I was absolutely overjoyed to be asked to take part or run rather this program. It's been a wonderful experience to be able to connect with other writers of colour, and I think we have an incredible power when we create these really inclusive spaces with one another, and I certainly hope that we'll be able to do so again in future. The 7 artists you're going to see are all absolutely phenomenal. They all have a real way with words and a real way with performing those words as well. So yeah, I'm just so excited to be able to be a part of this. So without further ado, I am going to read you the bios from the 7 participants. First up, we have Nasim Rebecca Asl. She is a Glasgow-based poet and journalist. Her work has been featured in Middle Ground magazine, Modern Poetry and Translation, and Gutter magazine. In 2020, she featured in the poetry series Sorry I Was on Mute as part of the inaugural Fringe of Colour films. And next up we have Kamala Santos. She trained as a film and TV boom operator, then moved into writing with a screenplay about the Belizean lumberjacks who came to Scotland in World War II. Camila is currently enrolled on the MA Television Fiction Writing at Glasgow Caledonian, and she works as a freelance writer for local charities. So next we have Asha, who is a budding new writer. The poet grew up between the homes of her Punjabi father and her Scottish mother. She is 1/3 of the Honey Farm, a Scottish female rap group that promotes female confidence and egalitarian views. B is also a solo spoken word poet whose work often tackles social injustice and gender equality, characterised by an openness to talk about her own personal experiences using creativity to heal from trauma. So next we have Sabrina, who is a Scottish writer who believes that the right words can change the world and wants to be part of that change. She writes numerous different types of poetry with the aim of shaping the way the world is seen, exploring issues such as racism and gender inequality. Clementine E. Burnley is a migrant mother, writer and community organiser. She loves to walk in the Scottish Highlands. Her work has been shortlisted in various short story competitions and she has been nominated for a Pushcart Prize. Next we have Andrew Ace Bamusi, aka Ace Vision, who is a 22-year-old student born in Lilongwe, Malawi, and raised in the East End of Glasgow, Scotland. The poetically inspired songwriter, rapper and bassist is equally as comfortable communicating freestyle, spoken word on open mic stages as he is lacing eloquent rhyme to experimental rhythm in production booths. And finally, last but not least, we have Wendy Law, and her work surrounds her birthplace, Hong Kong's urban landscape, people and ongoing political unrest. She would like to record in her own words the city where the surreal and absurd are the reality, and how the people keep fighting for freedom and democracy despite draconian laws and suppression. So that is our 7 artists, and I really hope that you enjoy. I have absolutely no doubt that you will. So thank you so much.
I find my calling at an open mic night. Here I am. I stand 1 by 1 metre squared, nimble brown fingers curled around a mic stand. Shaking hand, shaking mobile phone. The pixel lines quiver. An earthquake threatens. Hear all that I am. Words, bubbling, blossoming, words blooming from my rusted tongue. The syllables I spew bounce off the walls in this dim-lit room. Glasses click their fingers at the bar. Clustered round tables, each to their own, figures bow their heads and murmur to their neighbours. Give me the spotlight, this my birthright, 1 by 1 metre squared. I am summoning the limelight to counter the years I've spent on the sidelines. My sandy skin has melted into shadows. I have hovered in doorways with the moths, waited for permission to cross the threshold and wipe my muddy feet. I have existed for just a second in the minds of eyes of strangers, cobalt, cerulean, sea green, who have glanced in my direction and flicked away without measuring the depths of my chestnut. 1 by 1 metre squared, I summon the spectres of myself. The wizened hand of my grandma rests on my shoulder, my fingers combing her faded hair. Slurs fired at me from all directions stand with me on stage, flanking my visions. Affection tumbles from my scalp. I plant marigolds at my feet, and the steel of the stage splits. Melody spills from my spit-flecked lips, skin cracking, so that both sides of me are shown. Yekdo, yekdo, give me this day my unsaid duas. Lay them before me on a carpet woven from silk, crimson spilling, tulips emerging where I walk. I weave my threads between those misty tables, and my words follow as a golden net. Wrap my thoughts around the hollow arms of strangers, dotted like constellations before me. Drip my honey into their hearts. Bring them to me. And then this one is #datingwhilebrown. Swipe right, left, chap, the last. In a corner of my screen, Yek unread message glares red. My thumb flicks, lazy, taps the beacon. And alarm emojis ring in my head. A white man said, sells himself to ethnically ambiguous girl. I once ate Bombay mix at Anissa's. It's 1:04 p.m. Maybe he has Gazar on the brain, racked his mind to try and find the ingredients of my DNA. I blink, blink, blink. The scorpion wrapped around my heart stings my left chest, tail thrashing against my skull in rage. I unleash my fingers, let my hands paint pixel symphonies to explain away my brown. Breathe in, out. Be, kharej. I want to tell him that though bloodlines wrap around the caduceus of my body, but these veins are not Mahar at war. I want to tell him that I am Simorg, copper feathers streaming from my scalp. I want to tell him that he's picked the wrong region. My people are herby. I stew, you stew, we stew, pots of sabzi. Though I taste this heritage with an English tongue. I want to tell him I've not visited Anissa since I ran out of mixer at Memuni in an old friend's flat. I think I bought Walker's Sensations along with the own brand lemonade. but I definitely paid in pounds. I don't think they accept the reals, that I don't know how to count. I want to tell him that I hung the flag of Iran above my hi-fi when I was 12, right next to my Ms. Magazine Nick Jonas shrine. That F-song burns in my yellow bedroom, the smoke curling into waves. I want to tell him that John Denver blasted from those speakers, the vibration shaking the green, white, red, Sab Sefiz Gomez. I want to tell him that this album is my Bobo's favourite. I want to tell him that in our house, my mom's Geordie Dastan make the best chai. I type. There is nothing ambiguous about my dual existence. Then delete the message and remove him from my zendegi.
Out loud. I saw my neighbour Jimmy at the checkout with a bottle of wine. I was going to say hello, but I couldn't catch his eye. This friend of mine, she's Nigerian, blocks him from my view as she squeezes her way to the front of the queue. I heard the manager saying, "It's all right, love, go ahead." But I don't think Jimmy knew that's what was said. He turns with eyebrows raised to everyone behind, loud enough for her to hear, "You think she might be blind?" My friend acts as expected, keeps on chatting with the manager, ignoring all the banter going on at the back of her. That's when Jimmy sees me standing silently in line, that lovely coloured lassie who stays at number 9. I don't think he's ever seen me without my bonny smile, and he can tell by my expression that he's on trial. So he sniffs and looks away from me as if he's trying to say, "Well, you're too brune to see the funny side anyway." I understand his irritation. I'd have felt the same. It's a feeling that unites us having someone else to blame. But what made him think he could say that out loud, as though because she's African and a woman it's allowed? It was exactly the same on the day we first arrived. For maybe 25 minutes, our van was blocking your drive. You were totally raging and told us so out loud, your anger drifting over our arrival like a cloud. Then our wee boy went and crashed his bike into the bins and you leaned out of the window shouting down at him. Later, exhausted, sat on boxes eating Chinese takeaway, it hit me. You never even used your car that day. Still, I bent over backwards, said sorry, we'll behave. Took you flowers every day, a little smile and a wave. And since then you've been fine. I thought that we were friends. I'm going to have to think about how to make amends. Then this answer appears, just drops inside my head. The revelation sending my cheeks a burning red. Jimmy, all this time, it's almost like I've been flirting with you, trying to charm the heart of a man of 82. There, standing in the aisle, the truth dawns on me. This little game I've been playing in my own country. From my neighbourhood, where minds are set, to the office, where so much is left unsaid. If I can win over the right person, wherever the place, then people might forget about the colour of my face. And as I watch Jimmy paying for his bread and his wine, I pray for forgiveness and walk away from the line. Hostages. Godmothers were meant to come with wishes and fairy wings, but she only gave me biscuits and cups of tea. Mum said she had hidden problems, things we couldn't see. That's why she always stayed indoors on a brown velvet settee. I didn't get it at all. Thought it was the outside air, scared that when I stepped into her hall I might cause her death, and as she leaned in for a kiss I would hold my breath. By the time I was 12 I'd lost that fear, but still didn't understand. Just sat with her and the cat and watched the news about hostages in a far-off land. Some said they must have died. She knew they were still alive. Knew too the innocence of the Irishman locked up by keys of politics and pride. Then one day I put the kettle on and we watched and waited. TV screen light in our faces, as there down courtroom steps, eyes squinting in the sun, the six walk free, devil's milk raised in victory. And a few months on, down jet plane steps, another magically freed. His arms raised, his body worn, and a sky too bright to see after 5 years in captivity. It was the first time I'd seen her open the curtains, but then the TV stopped working, and Mum said her sick pay wasn't enough to fix what was broken. With no news to wait for, I noticed things I hadn't before, like the dust everywhere, the crumbs all over her chair, and the weird smell, probably the cat, and I stopped going round soon after that. Then years later, after school one day, hurrying home through torrential rain, I mumble something about a quicker way. Before I realise we've passed her door, a stolen glance and I see her staring back, her face a mirror of the cat's. Captured for a moment in her gaze, it is me who's trapped and constrained. And she has freedom at her feet, resting on a rag rug. My friends call out my name wrapped in their disdain. Her smile fades and it snaps me back to the wildness of her garden, the mad weeds and cracked up path. I wish that I could stay. I wish I could open that gate. I wish I could go inside, get dried, put the kettle on and say, I'll wait with you today. We're all hostages, in a way. The picnic. Next time you see us sitting out in the sun, all of the bairns with the brown and black mums, don't just think, what's the world coming to? Think instead that what you're seeing is Scottish history. Not Bannockburn, not Culloden, nor the lid of a tartan biscuit tin. We're the crumbs of a story hidden within. Of hoarded wealth that fueled the industry, of train and ship and coal-fired factory, of Clyde-built bridge in every land, engineering on demand, sweating, steaming, burning, engine room of the empire, putting hands to the sword, to the hammer, to the chain. While back home, the people remain silent and unaware, no sense of complicity in their hungry bones, held at the brink of despair by the fine trickle that lairds and ladies let leak through marbled hall and gated wall. Enough to keep folks in school, if not in shoes. The best education in the world, funded by the suffering of others. So whenever you see us sitting out in the sun, please don't think, what is going on? Think instead of heritage and of what your ancestors did, of the steel ship and iron bridge that one day would bring a new Scotland back this way, the ones that kept your starvation at bay, offspring of stolen children, women and men, who slaved and fought and died for our wee bit hill and glen.
Hi, my name is Asha. Before I start my performance, I just want to thank Courtney Stoddart for the fantastic workshop she put on for us, and just everyone at the Scottish BAME Writers Network for all the incredible opportunities that they bring to our community. The workshops and the events really have kept me going through this tumultuous year, and I appreciate all of it. So thank you. My first poem is called He Said, She Said. He said that I was glowing, an aura of autumn hues, of oranges and yellows and browns. He said that the radiance drew him in, and the still warmth of my being drew him out of his blues. I felt the arnica to the bruise. With gentle rubs he soaked me into his skin, and let my warmth breeze through him. I was the crisp leaves crunching beneath his feet, memories of childhood's kicking and whirling in the amber cascades. So comforting to him. But to me, the dried and crumpled leaf beneath, the weight of his release was but a reminder of my own fragility. She said that being around me was like slowing down, that sitting on my couch was like stopping. The continuous movement that rattled through her being eased into a slouch and gouch on my Frida Kahlo pillows. She felt like she could tell me anything, without judgment, because she could, and she would. I was the fresh cuppa between her fingers, emanating a soothing heat into her palms. With every sip, she could sit a little softer. whispering sugared words of woes into her teacup and letting them dissolve away. So comforting to her. But to me, the abating brew between the warming of her ales were but a reminder of my own emptiness. He said that he admires me. She said that I inspire she. They said that they desire me to be whatever they require me to be, to give myself entirely whenever they do call on me. Thank you. My second poem is called I Want to Be a Door. It's quite short. I love you. I die. You loved me so much that I'd forgotten how to love myself fully, or be loved. I don't think I can ever know again. I can feel beautiful and funny and gorgeous, but when I walk into my room, when I sit on the side of my bed, alone, I remember what it was like to have you walk through my door and adore every part of me. And every moment you got to be with me. You walked through my door and I got to be with you. Well, now, my company or anyone else's just doesn't feel quite enough. I want to be adored. I want to be a door that is open and you can enter and I can feel your hand pushing on the handle, eagerly awaiting what is on the other side. I want to be a door, and you are a person rushing home because you really need to pee. And when you see me, a door, you think that you might wet yourself, but you don't. And you are inside, and you have peed, and sat down on the couch with the cats. And there is a cup of tea, and you sigh. Content. I want to be a door. But for now, I'm just a doormat, and I am walked on, and muddy boots are being wiped upon me. I am close to being a door. Sometimes you see me and you think, oh, the door is near. And sometimes people leave packages on me. Thank you so much. Have a lovely 2021.
The world we live in is an awful place, full of abuse, discrimination, inequality, and injustice. Many believe that the world is a lost cause, but I contest that belief. I believe that while there is hope, courage, and kindness, we can turn this world around and make it into something worth admiring. I live by these words every day. If the blood of my words isn't distinct, if it doesn't reek of its own scent, if it doesn't feed through my veins, if not for the hope of a better tomorrow, if not to give a voice to the voiceless, if not for the mere chance of change, then why? Why write it at all? My name is Sabrina, and I believe that the right words can change the world. Expectations. Cover your eyes, they are coming. Wear a longer skirt, you're asking for it. Be modest, respect yourself, but stop covering up. Show us what's beneath, we demand a peek. How will you find a husband? Blue eyelids? That's false advertising. You ought to be ashamed. Nobody likes a plain Jane. Put on some lippy, give us a show. Don't go out at night, but don't stay at home. Open your legs, but keep them closed. Carry a whistle. After all, boys will be boys. Blood and water. Blood is thicker than water, or so I have been told. It nurses us, keeping us whole. Blood is thicker than water, he will keep you warm. Blood is thicker than water, he will keep you safe. Blood is thicker than water, you can't trust your friends. Blood is thicker than water, those boys will bring you hell. Blood is thicker than water, fathers knows best. Blood is thicker than water, obeys every command. Blood is thicker than water, do as you're told. Blood is thicker than water, take off your clothes. Blood is thicker than water, it is all your fault. Blood is thicker than water, keep your mouth shut. Blood is thicker than water, paint on a smile. Blood is thicker than water. Who are you again? The witch. She was a witch, a big scary witch. She did not have a broom, or if she did, she could not ride it. She never once cast a spell, but knew every curse under the sun. She never brewed a potion, unless you count her killer cup of tea. She caused plenty of commotion every time she opened her mouth. She was a witch, I tell you, a big scary witch. She never did demand your attention. Did she ever crave your affection? Not once did she long for validation. She was a witch, I know this for sure, a big scary witch. She wasn't just any witch. She was a woman, a truly scary witch. Shouldn't I be taller? I always feel like I should do more. I should be more to change this mess of a world, this rock I have exploded onto. But every step I take, for every step forward, I fall 2 steps back. Each time I end up further than where I began, further from where I know I should be. I should be doing more. It is never enough. This world is so fucked. How can I fix it? Why should I even try? I should do more. I should be more. Smarter, prettier, kinder, taller. I should be everything more than what I am right now. Smile. People are dying. Children are left orphaned, but we just smile. We call it a tragedy when one takes their own life. But when that girl in class says she can't do it anymore, we shout, attention seeker. But when they are gone, we smile, saying we all need to try harder to see the pain behind that gorgeous smile. We can all do more. We all should do more. The world is chaos. Murderers, rapists are in the plenty. Evil, destruction, hatred around every corner. But still, we smile. The chess of change. We are all pieces of the same chessboard. Squares of black, of white. Without the dark, there can be no light. But without the light, will we even notice the dark? All different, each with our own shape, with our own design, with our own purpose. Frolicking through the game of chess. Alone we are easy, checkmate. But when we come together, protect each other, stand by each other, we are all winners. Can I interest you in a game of the chess of life? Thank you.
My name is Clementine E. Burnley, and the first piece I'm going to perform is called Manifesto. Dear Doctor, I speak to you from the dimly lit hallway above the consulting rooms where your patients wait. Rude girl. Don't whisper that a girl's breasts are Aladdin lamps to be rubbed. You should. My body is not yours to measure with your hypocrite hand. Respect my ears are not yours to devastate with the dreck of your terrible life. Elders, the time for your words is over, dear doctor. Rude girl, I've slapped the brown of anyone who tried to own me with their hands. He's my husband. Dear doctor, I grew up. I don't forgive you, so don't try me. The second piece I want to perform is called A Way to Resist. I am a performer, and I have come to share that I too am human, one among the many. The haze above the audience is that weed smoke. Injustice inflames me. Rather than smolder alone, I've come to burn shit down. I'm not magical. I choose to scream before I combust in my student room between sink and single glazed window. I've come to say what must be said. I've come to share what I've seen and heard. What fills me till it spills. I've come to release what can no longer be confined. I bear witness. What I share doesn't belong to me. My personal is our political. Who, on finding a pile of ashed bones beside my bed, could tell once a poem breathed there? This piece is called Pastoral. We are still in the time before. We live on the mountain. We are not French yet. We live within the northern and southern limits of the single hump zebu, the white ones with horns like a sickle moon. No one tells us what to do. We are Songhai, we are the horse. We are the too small for work shorthorns. Pay attention, we have no papers. We are not unlike the British shorthorns, which are not unlike us. We are Dongola, we are the horse. We are the Maori, the white, red, or black-coated Senegalese Ndama, the Tuareg, the Sudanese, the light-horned blonde Kuri, whose buoyant horns help them to swim from island to island. We are the lyre-horned zebu. No one can cattle like us. We are the Arab barb, we are the horse. We are the delicate stub-horned Azauk, Oshua, red Bororo, white Fulani, Sokotos who wear ruffles of skin on our necks. Our horns are laid horizontal like the ears on a futa, Jalon, dwarf goat. Ha ha ha, don't tell the big fellas, the Sokoto who weigh in at 400 kilos. We have no passports. We are the horde, we are the horse. We are Borgu, whose horns curve outwards and then up and inwards, a short and varied movements, whose humps are small, muscular, set to the front, although with white Fulani blood, the humps engage and move further backwards towards our tails. We obey no one. We are Dongola, we are the horse. We are Baule, Sanga, the black, flat-back Ndama, the Pyong Gaundere, Banyo and Adamawa, the mixed Yola, the Felata. We cross where we want. We are the Mparambaya, we are the horse. We have never been improved by the Swiss-bred Cimental. Our noses have never been pierced with metal. We have never been ringed and dragged about. We are Hausa, we are the horse. We wear strings looped around our horns. And when we want, we follow suggestions and tugs. Our Fulani do not measure the exact length of our horns or the color of our coats, for we are pure. We need no identifying marks. We are the Mparambaya, the horse of the south, the Hod, Songhai, Dongola, Jerma, the Hausa, the Arab barb. We are the horse. And the last piece I want to perform is called Losing Christmas. Over Christmas break, the British fled, leaving room service trays untouched, rented skis unreturned, maids untipped, abandoned the pistes, a single unbroken retreat from slope to lowland borders. Snows possessing the roof, here at home, a single shingle at a time. And then, later, I patrol hospital corridors lit by the antiseptic glow of truth, seeking the same seasonal freedoms. To bedeck discomfort with decorative cloth. This morning's news left me calling winter gales to wash away the fuzzy comfort of not being sure. The diagnostic realities impose a final crystalline silence on my house. A fat-tailed fox escapes down below between the pastel-colored skips piled haphazard in the wrecking yard next door. Cars left to wait on the mercies of the Monday shift. A brief grace before dismantling. Gnarled and sculpted into rubbery cubes, rusty cubes, rubbery tubes coiled and snarled. And for me, the white coats wait, the pastel scrubs withdrawing and grunting. Sensational release. Outside, lightnings needle the sky, hypodermic. And the storm visits to punish the gardens, sprinkle with lingering frosts, winds, to lecture. And inside the hospital, animal claws skitter underneath the gurneys. In spring, I hope to be still here, grateful to oversee the roof tiles in melt, and to thaw, and to flood. Outside, a bulldog, slinky, shamefaced, in a red padded waistcoat, pisses the corners of his kerchief-sized patch, wastes its days seeking consent from vermin, regrets days gone by. Thank you.
I'm 22 chapters old, wearily watching as this story continues to unfold. Never judge a book by a cover, see I was told, but I learned it's really never judge a book by one page when the genre is a coming of age. You see me on the video, you see me on stage, on the social media, you even meet me in face. You think you know a person but never really check the ingredients of how they're made. Ace by name, ace by nature, or so they say. You see, you hear the words that I speak so concise and eloquently, yet once upon a time who I am is not who I was meant to be. I spent many nights wrestling and wrangling with my destiny. The pressure got so much, filled up with hopes and dreams, yet ultimately came out empty. Promises. I promise this won't be a waste of time, so listen closely. A word from the unwise delivered to both the pious and unholy. Now I'm still learning, so my words still aren't perfect, so don't expect to quote me. This is just my interpretation of the vision I believe God has shown me. Flip the page and envision a baby boy born into a foreign land until his parents decided to switch up their plan and took flight with metal wings, yet didn't land until the soil upon which I now stand became the ground upon which I sowed my foreign roots. Now, in the context of this particular time space, a whole group of families did the same, so all the same, I can't be fazed at the idea that some of you for sure can relate to what I'm saying and may feel that you've walked in my shoe. But this soul is built different, and that I will attempt to prove. Because as I learned to maneuver within this culture, I was vastly aware of how my parents tried to keep me in touch with the place where I come from, the name that was stuck on my forehead, my religion, tongue twisted, it all resorted in this internal division we refer to as the proverbial identity crisis. And to some degree it's suffice to say the feeling wasn't the nicest. Because as a youngster, the only vision he had was the vision his eyes did. And if he knew the things I know today, I'd guarantee it would surprise him. Understand that before you ever see racism, you still notice the differences in those with whom you play with. Black, white, or Asian, thick nose, thin lips, hair texture, the details so trivial and basic, yet all equally essential to the idea of what makes us who we are. Human being. Like any child, I took notice and often questioned these differences. What did it mean? Because I felt like one of them, but still wondered in their view, how did I seem? Can you imagine this kid constantly contemplating common contemporary questions in a multicultural world? And that's just his prologue. Stay with me as we unfurl this journey so true. I studied hard as I grew. An older sibling, so at home I had responsibilities too. The firstborn of a firstborn of a firstborn, a bloodline I didn't choose, but under my roof that came with the understanding that you take care of all those younger than you. Already a role model before the peak of my youth. Already had my life set out before me before I even knew what I wanted to do. Just play my role, make mom happy. I was never uncouth. I'm telling you, I studied hard as I grew, quite tall for my age. And for that, I have to give thanks to the mothers that helped to raise me. I mean, my dad was around until he wasn't seen anymore. Out the door, for reasons I still haven't been informed. But unusual to similar lore, this paternal parting filled me with joy at the idea of being able to explore the freedom of manhood. Damn good to be the man of the house. Damn that old head oppressor ordering me about. Damn, I wish someone had told me not to be a man, but a child. Alas. Growing up too fast is like trying to fit a puzzle with a piece from the wrong pack. I mean, you can try and force it, pray and hope that it don't crack, but when you step back, it's clear to see it don't belong. Something's wrong, it won't last. But then, by then, he was a drug-addicted dropout on the wrong path, cut hands from trying to hold on to a shattered relationship like broke glass, attempts to regain his mother's trust, but they both know it's hopeless, so he tries to find solace in this incohesive poem full of holes and gaps, and no true ending. The irony of realizing this vanity before sending for submission, strong start, but the finishing is missing. I mean, I know it's not bad, but recently my mind's been in remission. See, digging up the past can make it hard to keep persisting. So glad that you somehow still stuck around to listen. It's so sad, but I promise I had good intentions. To be continued.
Thank you, everyone. I'm really glad for this opportunity to be able to share with you 2 poems about the series of protests in Hong Kong that started last year. These poems were written during the most dreadful and darkest period of the protests, and the people of Hong Kong are still continuing to fight for freedom. The first poem is called I Thought the City Was Abandoned by God. The city before my eyes is one I cannot recognize. White-shirted thugs are shaking hands with blue-shirted cops. The thugs are swinging poles and rods. The cops are brandishing batons and guns. Both are equally vile, heartless mobs, attacking innocent civilians in unison, celebrating collusion and corruption in a land that rots. Greed is dribbling from conscienceless gobs of spineless, ruthless officials who incarcerate free thought. Bodies are decaying in lawlessness. The city was godless, I thought. Listen to the cries of devastated people suffocating in the tightening tyrannical grip. In the streets, bells toll and black smoke plumes in front of youths who bear historical wounds. They are hymning, sing hallelujah to the Lord for hours and hours from night to dawn, striving for the lost peace. They sing on and on. But still, I thought the city was abandoned by God. Bleeding eyes and empty sockets are watching the sky that echoes with unanswered callings, hopeless weeping of woeful bodies descending into hell. I thought the city was abandoned by God. In Causeway Bay, umbrellas grow, swaying beneath the bullets row on row. What can these thin plastic fabrics shield? Ideals? Justice? Truth? All that we know, this is the most we can do, shielding as much as we can shield. The hymns and chants continue. We take to the streets, we have chosen to resist, trudging through the hellish heat and cyanide mist. The tortured believers still believe. No city is abandoned by God, even when it's raining bullets, hailing down tear gas pallets. No city is abandoned by God, not until it's abandoned by its own people. The second poem is a shorter one. It's titled Dancing in the Dark. He has arisen from the ashes. She is dancing in the dark. She doesn't know how high the sky is. He doesn't know how deep the earth is. The protesters' laser pointers, blue and green, are like stage lights, flinging as she is dancing in the dark. The elders describe the student protesters with a Chinese proverb, 不知天高地厚. Unknowing of the tall sky and the deep earth, the innocent and idealistic souls are like cattle trotting towards the tragic destiny. We gave our today, but how many tomorrows can we reclaim? Our blood is shed, but what are we able to protect? She is dancing in the raging flames. Her hands are waving in blue gushes of water and white clouds of dust. Her legs are twisting and turning in the ruckus. Boom, bang, pow. Bullets sear her clothes, rip her skin, scorch her waist and stomach. Blood is trailing as the sound and fury are revolving round her. The wind is rising. Blasts are ringing in both of her ears. White mists are covering both of her eyes. Her legs are twisting, her arms are turning. His ashes are swiveling in the air. The wind has arisen as high as heaven, fallen as deep as the earth.
So I'm going to be performing two poems, the first of which is called War. War is colonialism, and colonialism is war. The police state is war, and war is colonialism. The military complex is colonialism, and colonialism is war. The enemy has grown arms and legs. He follows us by day, by night, by fingerprint, by facial recognition, by private prison system, by bomb dropped on civilian, and the lingering scent in the air of imperialism. Thank you for listening. So my final poem is called And I Ask of You. And I ask of you, who dares bear the weight of this, of violence, of truncheon wielded by an illusory apparatus we call the state, and what a state it is, held together by stolen grains of rice, of mice masquerading as men inflicting harm upon the meek, by the weight of gold in hands too weak to hold it, the stain of blood on ragged handkerchief. Wombs once held the seeds of what would become child. Now they hold persons. They hold the guarantee of coltan in pockets, in laptops, and in wallets. And I ask of you this. When you are merry, melancholic, or melodic, whose hand do you hold? Who do you ask to read you a story before you sleep? Who do you ask to fill your mouth so that you can feed? Greed is when those who claim to be holy become solely consumption, embodied by desires of the flesh. And they say the wicked never rest, swallowed whole by wants, and these elites don't provide for the most basic of needs. So who teaches you how to grieve? Bleed. Where do you go when you bleed? Ancient whispers once foretold of a world brimming in misery, spilling, pouring, and burning wickedry. In times gone by, they sought illicit reaps, and my heart weeps, for now we are here. I see it before my weary eyes. This is the present. Mother Earth is crying, yet we cannot see her tears to wipe, to wash. Here comes the whitewash. And I ask of you this. When merriment has gone awry, why do you ask for the Lord of the land to keep you dry? Why does shelter have to be bought? We pay in our flesh and our blood and our bone to live on the land we were born upon, and we pay in our time, our sweet and precious time. My feet planted deep into hardened mud, I question if rain were to fall upon me now, would my scars begin to show, glow? Am I any more than blood and bone, carbon copies of those who came before me? Their merriment and melancholy engaged in a sacred dance, now gone, now buried, flesh, bone, and blood, now hurried. And those Machiavellian mice masquerading as men are stooped low. They hide their faces and they disguise their gold, held in hands supported by weak wrists, eyes marred by the pleasures of the flesh, blood, and bone. Did no one ever tell them that the weight of treasure dirties the soul? Surely they know that once death encapsulates them in her warm and weary arms, she will tell them in soothing yet assertive tones that the treasures they own and the weight of their bones can't come with them. They must leave it behind. Treasure heavies the heart and it mars the mind, and death will ask of them this: was the pleasure really worth the pain and sufferation? You signed the papers of litigation, so welcome, honey, to these karmic cycles of exploitation. Thank you for patiently waiting. Death don't partake in no debating. She will take you, claim you as her own. You will be ripped clean from your throne, no longer encased in the gold that you stole, and the wisdom you could have gained was washed away with the waters summoned by your wickedness. And I will ask of you this: is it treasure you will sorely miss when the stench and mystique of death has swallowed you wholly? Disappeared in the soft wisp of the nightly mist, you won't be remembered for your riches. When the body that encases your heart turns to dust in the sheer wisp of that cold nightly mist, your riches and lust will betray you. Your lies and mistrust won't be enough to save you when death comes to plant her kiss on your crooked, wicked, and insipid lips. Thank you for listening.